trade rumors are continuously escalating for Pittsburgh Penguins star winger Rickard Rakell. We also have an announcement to make that Rickard Rakell has made an exclusive team along with teammate Erik Karlsson, and Rakell's time in Pittsburgh could be numbered. As the days go by leading up to the trade deadline, many teams are interested in bringing in a star winger that can play in the top six, and Rickard Rakell is that guy. Should the Penguins trade him? That's a completely different conversation, but right now the rumors are fueling the fire, and we have to discuss it here on Penguins Digest. First and foremost, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. 85% of you that are watching these videos have not subscribed to Penguins Digest. If you want the latest news, rumors, updates, and analysis on your Pittsburgh Penguins, hit that sub button, and let's keep the road going to 1,000 subscribers. The first order of business today is Rickard Rakell being unsnubbed from Team Sweden. He was one of the main guys from Sweden that did not make the original Four Nations face-off roster for the team. I was very surprised. Everybody was very surprised, and they were very quickly to call it a snub that he was not part of the roster. Now, their roster construction was based on last year's performance in the first 14 to 15 games this year, so it was understandable why Rakell may have been left off. But recent news and recent injuries have revealed that Rickard Rakell will take William Karlsson's spot on Team Sweden, and it is long overdue for Rakell. The way he has played for the Penguins this season, oh my, he is unbelievable. One of the best scorers in the National Hockey League all season long, playing on a line with Sid, producing at a very high clip, something that Sweden could no longer look past. They had to put Rickard Rakell on this roster. He was the first name that they could think of when they needed to replace William Karlsson, and here he is, Rickard Rakell being named to Team Sweden, playing alongside his teammate currently, Erik Karlsson. So it's an exclusive team. He's going to get to really go and put his talents on display for his home country, something that every player wants the opportunity to do. Rakell is being rewarded for his really, really good play here in Pittsburgh by making the Four Nations face-off roster, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Now, that's the third Penguin that has been named to a Four Nations face-off roster. Crosby, obviously, the captain of Team Canada, and now Erik Karlsson and Rickard Rakell teaming up for Team Sweden, as well as Coach Sullivan coaching Team USA. So we got plenty of Penguins representation, and here's what Coach Sullivan had to say about Rakell's play this season, which has led to his spot on Team Sweden for the Four Nations face-off. He is the Penguins leader in goals with 23 goals and ranks second on the team with 45 points. Sully said, first of all, we are thrilled for him, certainly proud of him. He's a really good player, a great person, and we think he's deserving. I think Rax just quietly has had a really strong season, a consistent game since training camp. He's playing the game the right way. He's playing on both sides of the puck. He has this hardness to his game, stiff on pucks, physical, willing to block shots. He's playing defense. The offensive side, everybody sees. But he's committed to a lot of the subtleties that, in our mind, make up winning hockey, adds up to winning. So we couldn't be happier for him. We think he's so deserving, and we're certainly proud of him. So Rakell will go head-to-head with the Penguins coach, Mike Sullivan, at some point during the Four Nations face-off, as well as playing against Sidney Crosby at Team Canada. So the line mates will face off, and that's what this is all about, the Four Nations face-off. I'm so excited. We'll have plenty of coverage of that as we get closer to that time. We're really close to the time already, but as we get more and more into February and NHL games stop, the Four Nations face-off will begin, and it's going to be a really fun time period for us Penguins fans to watch our boys perform for their home countries, as Patrick Hornquist was actually in the broadcast booth for a recent game for the Pens, and Josh Getzoff, the Penguins play-by-play guy, had a few things to say about that. It was kind of sketch whenever Horny showed up, and we're thinking, oh, maybe he has something to do with Rickard Rakell being put back on Team Sweden, because he's the assistant general manager for Team Sweden, helping construct their roster. And I don't think he could really resist the temptation of putting Rickard Rakell on this roster. The way that he's been playing, he passes the eye test. He passes every test. If you're making a national team, how could you not think of this guy as one of your top 12 to 14 forwards in your country? There's absolutely no way that Rakell is not in that exclusive club. So he makes the team, and we thank Hornquist for possibly being a factor in that decision by putting Rickard Rakell on Team Sweden. So well-deserved for Rakell. Really excited for him, and Team Sweden, of course, has an absolutely stacked roster. They're going to be competing alongside a stacked USA team and a stacked Canada team, so it's going to be difficult to win this face-off, but Sweden has the team to do it. And that roster is accurate aside from Karlsson being replaced by Rickard Rakell. So actually an improvement for Team Sweden since the initial roster was released. You see the goaltending. I mean, Philip Gustafsson's been having a crazy year for the Wild. They got Jacob Markstrom of the New Jersey Devils. I think he's injured, so he probably will not be participating in that. And then Linus Ullmark, who is coming back. Linus Ullmark, who's just coming back from an injury for the Ottawa Senators. He is a spectacular goaltender, especially the game he had against the Penguins earlier in the season. That was not fun. So these guys are going to obviously anchor the back end for Sweden, and they have great defensemen as well. Erik Karlsson, obviously assistant captain of the team. They got Rasmus Dahlin, captain of the Buffalo Sabres in there. Victor Hedman, captain of the Lightning. I mean, they have some studs on the back end, and in the forward group, oh my. Adding Rakell to that already stacked lineup, that's a team that can do some damage. I mean, they could make noise here in the Four Nations faceoff. And obviously, the four nations that they pick, aside from Russia, are probably the four best hockey nations in the world. No offense to anybody else that's not mentioned there, but aside from Russia, these are probably the four strongest countries as far as hockey product. So they have plenty of players at the NHL level, plenty of talent. Every single player playing in this tournament is an NHL player. I mean, they didn't have to dig to find other players. Like, they didn't have to look elsewhere. So that just goes without saying. Like, these are stacked teams with all NHL players. It's basically an NHL all-star team, every single one of these teams. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So now on a more negative note, because we covered the positive first, now I got to end with the bad news. Rakell potential trade destinations have been revealed. So we talked the last video about Rakell being a possible trade candidate before the deadline and Dubas possibly getting an offer that he cannot refuse. That is becoming more and more likely the better Rakell plays and the more teams need scoring. So we're going to go over the teams that are interested in Rickard Rakell and the teams that could make a push to get the star winger from the Penguins. Potential landing spots for Rickard Rakell will be revealed in this video. It was an article that came out earlier this morning, and it revealed 4 potential trade destinations for Rakell. This was a Sports Illustrated article that came out. Obviously, we don't want to trade Rakell. Why would we want to trade Rakell? He is so productive, and his cap hit is so team-friendly, it's not even funny. And that makes him more valuable to other teams. Of course, they're going to call on Rickard Rakell. Why wouldn't Kyle Dubas listen? We can't blame him for listening to these offers. There could be an offer that could really push our team forward in this rebuild and get us to that next, tier and speed up the process for Sidney Crosby and Evgeni Malkin and Kris Letang's sake. So right now, we're just listening. There's no actual deal in the works, no reported trades. It's just potential trade destinations, teams that could use him, teams that he would be a fit for. This is what we're looking at. So the first team that came up, the Los Angeles Kings, a team that was rumored to be interested in Brian Rust as well. They desperately need wingers and scorers, specifically top 6 guys. The Kings feel like the best landing spot for Rakell. They said the same thing about Brian Rust. The team has stalled out offensively over the past few weeks, but they remain one of the top teams in the Pacific Division. Stingy team, great defense, excellent goaltending. Another top 6 scorer would spark the team on a late season run. And I can't disagree with that at all. The Kings could take on Rakell's contract for the next year and beyond and have a large group of young players that the Penguins would find very appealing. We talked about Clark. I talked about Laferriere. I'd be very interested in a trade with the Kings because they have very good young players that I would be interested in acquiring. Do I want to part ways with Rakell? Absolutely not. But the Kings have the assets and they are a team in need of scoring, so they would be willing to make a package, like a heck of a package offer for Rickard Rakell because he would set their team over the top. Absolutely. So keep an eye on the Kings. Another team that's interested in Rickard Rakell, the Vancouver Canucks, a familiar trade team for us. We just made a trade with them, sending them Karlsson and O'Connor. Why not Rickard Rakell? We have a good relationship with them, Alvin and Rutherford. The Canucks are not giving up on the season. They are not. Quinn Hughes' name is being floated around. I do not see a world where Quinn Hughes is traded. Now, okay, we're talking about the LA Kings. I can make a basketball reference. If Quinn Hughes is traded, that's the equivalent of Luka Doncic just getting traded to the Lakers. If Quinn Hughes is traded, that is the equivalent, okay? So, if for hockey fans, Quinn Hughes probably the best defense in the National Hockey League. Sorry, Cale Makar. I would pick Quinn Hughes. That might be the unpopular opinion, but I would take Quinn Hughes. If he is traded, that is literally what just happened in the NBA. And that's what's happening right now. It's par for the course for sports right now. If Doncic can be traded, then Quinn Hughes can be traded too. So I'm not ruling anything out. Absolutely not. But that is what is going on right now. Vancouver is not giving up. But if they did, Quinn Hughes would probably be a New Jersey Devil or a Montreal Canadian or a Toronto Maple Leaf. You never know, right? Crazy things can happen. I've heard Maple Leafs and I've heard Devils as the main rumors, but also the Canadiens are not giving up either. That's a team that's a little bit above the Penguins in the standings right now, but on paper, I really like the Canadiens team. So I would not be surprised if they made a push for a guy like Quinn Hughes, because that would set them over the top. They already got Mike Matheson back there. You put Quinn Hughes back there, boy. I mean, they have the players. They got, Line A has made them a different team offensively. Their power play, that dude's scoring like every other game. Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, like that team could be a playoff team. I'm not even joking. If the Canadiens got hot, hey, and obviously Toronto's trying to snap that streak. So if these teams want Quinn Hughes, they could go get him. But I think the Canucks, back to the Penguins story of this, I think the Canucks are more likely to actually go and buy than sell. That's all I'm saying. I had to talk about Quinn Hughes because that's been a thing with the Canucks. And anything that we mention with the Canucks, you have to talk about Quinn Hughes. But Rickard Rakell would definitely make them a better team. There's been talks about Brock Besser being moved as well. Now, that was before the JT Miller trade. Pettersson was in the trade rumors as well. Elias Pettersson, not Marcus. And now the Canucks are just such an interesting team right now. I would say, other than the Penguins, they might be the most interesting team. That's why there's so much for me to say. But Rakell would definitely make them better. He'd be an upgrade, and their scoring has been a problem. You look at their defense. I've talked to Canucks fans. Their top four is fine on defense now. They obviously have Hronik, Quinn Hughes, and now Marcus Pettersson, Tyler Myers. They're solid, right? The other Elias Pettersson's back there as well on the third line of defense. But their scoring has been not there. It's just not there. With JT Miller gone, Pettersson's stats are not that good. I mean, he's averaging a point per game, but for a superstar, quote-unquote, player, that's not going to cut it. So the Canucks need scoring, and maybe Rickard Rakell's the answer, right? Could they come together for another trade? More offense, 30-goal scorer, Rakell? Makes a lot of sense. They have the cap space after trading Miller. The Detroit Red Wings are another option. The Red Wings are not giving up on the season. I think of them as a similar situation as the Canadiens, except they got hot quicker. So now they're in the playoffs, whereas the Canadiens still have yet to have another hot streak to push them back up in that spot. So they currently hold the number one wild card, last time that I checked. So the Red Wings, they're in the market. They're trying to make a push. They're trying to make the playoffs. Their rebuild was excellent. I mean, you think about the players they've accumulated over the last few years and signing guys like Alex DeBrincat. I mean, that team looks nice. Moritz Seider, one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League for my money. So the Red Wings, occupying a wild card spot right now. That's what the article says. They might end up ending their playoff drought. We think about the domination of the Red Wings in the late 2000s. The core that they have right now, this could be a really deadly core moving forward. It's no Datsuk, Zetterberg, Lidstrom, but it's a good core. And Rakell, that would be something if they could get him. Obviously, they have Tarasenko, Patrick Kane, aging veterans, going for one last hurrah. Two guys I love, by the way. Young players like Veleno, Casper, Berggren. I mean, credit to them. If they can get Rakell more scoring, push that forward group to the next level, I'm saying, and Red Wings could be a scary team. They could be a scary team. And the last team that we talk about today with Rickard Rakell is the Toronto Maple Leafs, a team that is desperately looking to end this playoff losing streak. Yes, they're going to be a playoff team. Look at that roster. Tell me they're not a playoff team. But if you get Rickard Rakell, that is going to be something if they could get Rakell. It makes sense for two reasons. First, the Maple Leafs could use another middle six scorer, and Rakell would make an excellent fit. Secondly, the Leafs have a few players that fit the description of what the Penguins are trying to do. So players like Nick Robertson, a young forward who's been on the trade block for a while, Kyle Dubas type of player, need a change of scenery, of course. Rakell's contract, something that Toronto would struggle to afford beyond this season because of all the money they've invested in Matthews, Marner, Tavares. Just the list goes on, right? But it would be a championship move. It would be a championship move for the Leafs to get a guy like Rickard Rakell and add him to an already stacked roster. And that could be what puts them over the top and ends this drought for them in the playoffs, because that's what it's all about for Toronto. They are a regular season merchant team. I mean, they're always good in the regular season. But when is the playoff drought finally going to end for the Maple Leafs? Rickard Rakell could definitely help them out. So, talking about the Kings, big move. If they could get Rakell, definitely the most likely destination in my eyes. Vancouver, I mean, a little bit less likely, but if they're going to continue to buy instead of trying to be the Dallas Mavericks and selling their Luka Doncic, trading away Quinn Hughes, and the Maple Leafs trying to push themselves into cup contender status instead of just regular season merchant, playoff pretender status every single year. It's the same for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So eventually, big move like this, yeah, that could be a difference maker. Rakell is a difference maker on any team, truly. Congrats to him on being named to the Four Nations Face-Off roster. We love you, Rickard Rakell. We want to keep you. But if a team offers us a package that Kyle Dubas cannot refuse, I'm going to endorse it. I am. Because there are teams that could give us a heck of a package for a 31-year-old winger in the prime of his career. Just is what it is. He's having the best year of his entire career. So it makes no sense to trade him, right? Well, that's where you get the most value. Same thing I said about Matt Grzelcyk. He struggled so mightily to begin that season. And I've seen you guys in the comment section on last video talking about him not being a great defenseman. Well, he has been a great defenseman for the Penguins, as of late at least. For the last month or so, Grzelcyk has been a beast. So, of course, teams are looking at him. Of course, teams would trade for him. You got to capitalize on guys whenever their peak value is hitting. Kyle Dubas knows how to do that. I think these are guys that you got to move. If you're ever going to trade them, now's the time is basically what I'm saying. And it's perfect timing because the trade deadline, just over a month away, Four Nations Face-Off coming up. It's go time. So thank you guys for watching this episode of Penguins Digest. A lot of crazy stuff coming up in the news lately. We're going to cover it, and we're going to let you guys know every single time that anything comes out regarding your Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's go Pens. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We got the Devils tonight playing the New Jersey Devils. Tuesday, February 4th is the day. That game is at 7 o'clock at PPG Paints Arena. We don't need to do a game preview of that one. I'll talk about it after the fact, all right? More importantly, Rickard Rakell right now. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on that next episode of Penguins Digest.